Ever get that, like, stuffy nose, Sneezing fits? Can't stop.
Oh, yeah.
And then, to make matters worse, you start having trouble breathing.
The worst.
Right, not fun at all. Turns out having both allergies and asthma at the same time is way more common than people think. It even has a name, Caris.
Catchy, right.
Definitely rolls right off the tongue. But in all seriousness, it sounds like it can be a real bear to manage.
Absolutely. It's not just one thing you're dealing with, right? It's your respiratory system aimed at your immune system.
Oh, so your body's basically waging war on itself.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So figuring out treatment can be tricky.
Yeah.
It often needs to be multi-pronged, got to address both sides of the coin.
Okay, so that's what makes this deep dive we're doing today super interesting. You shared some really cool research with me from, get this, the Wuhan Hospital of Traditional Chinese Medicine.
Yeah.
And it's not just about acupuncture, which is fascinating in and of itself. It's about how acupuncture can actually work alongside, like, complement the typical medications people might take to get maybe even better results.
Right. And that's really key, right? It's not about ditching your inhaler or anything like that.
Yeah, not saying, toss out your meds, everyone.
Exactly. It's more like, hey, we're already doing this thing, but can we make it even better? And this whole idea of integrative medicine, it's gaining a lot of traction these days, and this study is a perfect example of why that is.
I'm intrigued. So break it down for me. What did they actually do in this study? Like, walk me through it.
Okay, so they took 70 people who all dealing with care,
So everyone in the study had both allergies and asthma. Got it.
Right, and they split them into two groups. Now, here's the important part. Both groups got what we consider the gold standard care. We're talking medications, things that help open up the airways, calm down all that inflammation.
So everyone is starting with a solid baseline of treatment, making sure everyone's kind of on an even playing field to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. But here's where it gets interesting. One group, the integrated therapy group, they also received acupuncture treatments.
Ah, so that's where it comes in.
Yep. And they didn't just receive it like, once. They actually got these treatments every other day for a whole month.
Wow, that's pretty intensive.
It was. And another important thing, we're not talking about just randomly placed needles here, okay? They were targeting very specific points on the body, acupoints, that had this long history of being used for breathing issues and allergy relief in traditional Chinese medicine.
So they're really, like, hitting it from both sides, huh? Medications doing their thing on a biochemical level, and then the acupuncture maybe, like, adding this whole other layer on top of that?
That was the hope. And the result, well, let's just say they were definitely interesting, to say the least.
Ooh, I love when things get interesting. Don't leave me hanging. Spill the tea. Did it actually work?
It did. Both groups actually saw improvement, which isn't surprising, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they were getting good medical care. But the group that also received acupuncture, they improved significantly more.
Okay, so hold on. When you say significantly, are we talking like we see this number and our jaws drop significantly, or the researchers were very excited significantly?
Honestly, a little bit of both. We're talking almost all the acupuncture patients, 97%, had a real noticeable benefit.
97%. Okay, that's huge.
Right, compared to 75% in the medication-only group. So that's a pretty substantial jump.
Okay, yeah, impressive. But I gotta ask, were they just feeling better, or did their actual breathing, like, objectively improve?
Their breathing got measurably better.
Yeah.
They used this test called, are you ready for this, FEV1?
FEV.1.
It basically measures how much air you can forcefully exhale in 1 second. So higher FEV1, better lung function. And the acupuncture group, they completely blew the other group out of the water on that one.
Love a good visual. So easier breathing, check. What about the whole allergy side of things, though? Did the acupuncture seem to help with that at all?
That's where it gets even more interesting. You have to remember, Curvain is all about inflammation. That's what makes both the allergies and the asthma worse.
Inflammation is basically the common enemy here.
Exactly. So they did these blood tests looking for certain markers that basically tell us how much inflammation is going on in the body. And you guessed it, the acupuncture group. They had significantly lower levels of these inflammatory markers after the treatment.
So not only were they feeling better and breathing easier, but their bodies were literally showing signs of less of the stuff that makes them miserable in the first place.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, I'm starting to see why this whole integrative medicine thing is really starting to catch on. It's pretty compelling when you look at the results.
Right, and we're just getting started. What's really fascinating to me is, like, how might acupuncture actually be doing all of this? You ready to dive into some acupoint action?
Acupoint action it is. Lay it on me. Wait, Scratch that. Don't actually lay any needles on me. I'm a little needle shy, if you know what I mean.
I hear you. No needles involved here, I promise. We're just talking about the theory and the cool points they used in this study.
Okay, good. Good. So acupoints. I'm vaguely familiar. It's not just like randomly poking needles wherever, right?
Definitely not. So in traditional Chinese medicine, these points, they're not random at all. They're thought to be located along these specific pathways, these channels called meridians. And the idea is that energy flows through these meridians throughout your body.
Okay, yeah, I've heard that before. It's like hitting these specific points can help restore balance to that energy flow, something like that, right?
Exactly. And while, modern science doesn't necessarily talk about it in terms of energy flow, what's really cool is that research is showing that stimulating these acupoints can actually trigger real, measurable changes in the body.
Okay, so less about the mystical energy and more about a real physical reaction.
Right. We're talking changes in your nervous system, your hormones, even the way your body perceives things like pain and inflammation.
Fascinating. Okay, but back to the Karas study, though. Which points did they actually use for the specific treatment? And what's the reasoning behind choosing those particular ones?
Two big ones stand out. One is called GV14, and it's located at the base of the neck.
Okay, I'm visualizing it. Base of the neck, got it.
And GV14 has been used to treat respiratory problems for ages. Think asthma, coughs, anything where breathing is an issue. It's like the MVP for respiratory support.
Makes sense. Go straight to the source of the problem. Okay, so that's for the breathing, the asthma part of Karas. What about the allergy side of things?
For that, they used Li20, which is located right next to your nostrils.
Ah, so you're really targeting those nasal passages directly.
Exactly. In traditional Chinese medicine, Li20 is known for relieving nasal congestion, which, as we know, is a huge part of the whole allergy struggle.
Okay, so it's like a two-pronged approach with the acupoints, too. One for the lungs, one for the nose. I like it.
And that's part of what makes acupuncture so fascinating. It can be incredibly tailored. The practitioner considers all your specific symptoms, even your overall health, when choosing the points. No cookie-cutter treatment here.
Definitely seems way more holistic than just, like, popping a pill, that's for sure. Okay, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, though, I always like to zoom out and think about the bigger picture. How do they actually measure improvement in this study? Were they just asking people, so feeling better?
That's such a good question. And no, they didn't just rely on people's subjective experiences. Although they did ask about symptoms, it was done in a much more structured way. They used something called, get ready, it's a mouthful, the Total Nasal Symptom Score.
Total nasal symptom score, huh? Catchy.
Yeah, they don't always go for snappy names in research.
Right.
But anyway, it's basically a questionnaire where people rate how bad their nasal congestion is, their runny nose, sneezing, all that fun stuff.
So it takes those feelings, the better or worse, and tries to put actual numbers on them?
Exactly. It helps standardize things and make the data more meaningful. But, and this is important, they didn't just rely on questionnaires. Remember we were talking about FEV1 earlier?
Well, the breathing test.
Yes. That was a key objective measure in the study. Higher the number, the better your lung function. And again, the acupuncture group showed those much bigger improvements on that test too.
Okay, so we've got the subjective stuff, how people are feeling covered with the questionnaires, and then the objective, more concrete data from those lung function tests. But you also mentioned blood tests earlier, something about measuring inflammation markers. That sounds pretty high tech. Tell me more about that.
It is pretty cool. They were looking for specific substances in the blood that tend to be elevated when someone's having like a lot of allergy or asthma action going on. One of these markers is called TIM1, and it's a protein found on certain immune cells.
Immune cells. Okay, so those are the ones that are basically freaking out a bit when someone has allergies, right?
You got it. And the other one they looked at was called E-selectin, which is also involved in inflammation. And guess what? They found that both of these inflammatory markers were significantly lower in, you guessed it, the acupuncture group after the treatment.
So not only were people saying they felt better and their breathing tests were better, but their bodies were literally showing signs of less inflammation overall. That's pretty amazing. Okay, so this is all super promising. But before I go out and stick needles in everyone I know, I also know that every study has its limitations. So, being good skeptics here, what are some things we should keep in mind about this particular piece of research?
Oh, I love that you asked that. Critical thinking for the win. So one thing to keep in mind is the study size. 70 participants is good, don't get me wrong, but to be extra confident in these results, it'd be great to see some larger studies done too.
Yeah, because everyone's different. What works for one person might not work the same way for another.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And another thing, this was a relatively short study. It only lasted for 4 weeks. So it'll be super interesting to see if these benefits last longer term.
That is a really good point.
Yeah.
Do people need to keep getting acupuncture to maintain those benefits, or do they kind of linger even after the treatment stops?
Such good questions. And honestly, we don't know yet, but that's the beauty of science. Each answer often leads to even more questions, and it's what keeps this whole research thing moving forward.
I'm all about moving forward. So we talked about how they measured improvement in the study, but what about the actual improvements themselves? What kind of changes did people in the acupuncture group actually experience in their day-to-day lives?
Now that's what it's all about, right? Because it's not just about the numbers, it's about how those numbers translate into real lived experiences. For some people, this could be the difference between like struggling to breathe and finally being able to take a deep breath comfortably, maybe for the first time in years even.
Wow. Yeah, I can only imagine how life-changing that would feel.
Right. And for others, it might mean being able to sleep through the night without waking up all stuffy and congested. Or maybe it means being able to cut back on their medication a bit, which can have its own whole set of side effects, right?
Right, because it's not just about treating the symptoms in a vacuum. It's about improving someone's overall quality of life, and that can look different for everybody.
100%. And I think that's really the core of what integrative medicine is all about. Finding what works best for each individual person and supporting their body's own amazing natural healing abilities.
I gotta say, learning about all this, it really makes you think differently about what treatment even means, you
I
know?
know, right?
Like, it's not always about just, like, shutting down symptoms as quickly as possible. Sometimes it's more about figuring out how to support your body so it can kind of, like, heal itself. You know what I mean?
100%. It's that whole give a man a fish, teach a man to fish thing, but for your health.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like that's a really important takeaway from this whole deep dive we've been doing on Karas. This study, it's like it shows us a potential pathway for treating this really complex condition, but in a way that considers like the whole person, not just the symptoms.
Totally. It's about realizing that the best solutions, they don't always have to be about picking sides.
Right. It's not East versus West or ancient wisdom versus modern medicine.
It's about like how can we bring those things together,
Yeah.
right? Integrate the best of both worlds to really help people.
Yes. And that's what's so exciting about this. We're seeing this more and more in healthcare these days, and it's awesome. This study, it's just one example of how powerful this kind of integrative approach can be. It really does open your mind to all the possibilities. Who knows what other conditions could benefit from this kind of like outside the box thinking?
Right. That's the
Yeah.
million-dollar question. And it's exactly why research like this is so important. It helps us understand not only if something works, but how it works. And then that understanding, it opens the door for exploring other potential uses.
Like a ripple effect, you know, one study can spark a whole wave of new ideas and possibilities.
Exactly. And it just
Sure.
goes to show how important it is to keep an open mind and be willing to explore all sorts of different approaches to healthcare.
Open minds for the win. So, for our listener out there who shared this awesome research with us, what do you think? We'd love to hear your take on all of this. Have you had any experiences, good or bad, with acupuncture or integrative medicine? Share your story.
Yes. Keep those questions coming and never stop exploring this incredible, ever-evolving world of health and healing.
Because sometimes the best solutions really are the ones that find those amazing connections between ancient wisdom and modern science. Until next time, happy diving, everyone.